Welcome to Creepin' It Real. I am Judah. Over the weekend, I watched what IMDb calls folk horror, Daddy's Head. Let's watch this trailer so we can all be on the same page.
You need to say goodbye. He's not going to live.
Goodbye, Daddy.
Isaac has no next of kin.
What does that mean?
He will need someone.
I can assure you already that I'm definitely going to get a copyright strike because of this trailer. For some reason, these foreign movies, whenever I use the trailer, I always get a copyright strike. I always appeal it, telling them that it's fair use because I'm using it for critique and commentary, but it doesn't matter. They never look at it. I have to wait 30 days, and then finally, they end up releasing it simply because nobody took a look at it.
I can't do this.
Give it time.
He's barely spoken to me since we got married.
It will come. Isaac.
Dad?
Come to the forest.
What are you looking at? Isaac.
Dad. He's in the forest, hiding in trees. His body's different.
What do you mean? Do you think you could draw him for me? You're obviously both struggling with the situation. He needs love.
There's a knife missing.
We were playing.
Come. Don't be scared.
I know that there's something wrong. I mean, no! I can't be here!
Everyone must know he's here.
There you have it. That was a trailer for Daddy's Head. Let's talk about the name of this movie, first of all. And before I do that, all spoilers. So if you don't want this movie to be spoiled, do not watch this review. Go watch the movie, then come watch the review, because all spoilers. Okay, the name, Daddy's Head. In my opinion, that name is horrible. I hate it. That's just it. So you saw the trailer. What this is father dies, leaves his son with his wife, his second wife. So it's a stepmother and a son that are left to grieve alone. The child has no other family. So the stepmom is faced with the question, is she going to become the legal guardian of Isaac, the child? She's thinking on it. They're living in the house. They were all staying together. And again, they're dealing with grief. Then some strange occurrences start happening. They start seeing, they see something inside the house that looks like an animal. They chase it out. There's a fire in the forest that surrounds them, except when they call the fire department in, there's no signs of any kind of a fire. It's all very weird. Isaac is very frustrated. He's feeling like he can't trust the adults that are around him. When he's talking to his stepmom about how the father is dead, they basically took him off life support. He questions why, and she said, well, the doctor said that, you know, he was essentially dead. It's just the life support that was keeping him alive. And Isaac is questioning, well, how do you know for sure he's dead? And she's just like, well, because the doctors told me. So he's not really getting any assurance. He's feeling like he was robbed. Also, his father's best friend is there kind of trying to help with situations. His stepmom is, her way of dealing with grief is a lot of drinking. And in one of her drunken moments, she tries kissing the best friend, who the best friend rejects, but Isaac does not see that part. He only sees the kissing part. So he's really starting to not trust the situation here, feeling that his dad was purposely taken away from him by the stepmother and the adults around him. You don't really know. You're questioning, is this a manifestation of Isaac's grief, this creature? Is it real? I don't know. Let me tell you, I can relate to this kid, Isaac, for sure. In like 2 weeks, it'll be 4 years since my dad passed. And I'm not lying when I tell you this. I had a dream just last night that my dad came back. And I was so happy to see him. But at the same time, I knew that he was going to be leaving me again. It was easy for me to see the grief mixed with the hope, hoping that it was all just a bad dream, and how those kind of things can cause anger in you, longing so badly for that, the horror of losing someone you love and wishing that it was just a dream. So I could totally see that hope, that desire for it all to be over, to lead someone to potentially, in my words, be seduced by something that's presenting itself as your loved one. I totally get that. Things get really bad. The stepmom feels like she cannot handle this child. She gets to the place where she's like, I can't do it. I can't be your guardian. I'm just going to have to hand you over to be a ward of the state. She gets like a nanny cam and puts it up in his room. She starts seeing some freaky stuff. So then you're like, wait, maybe this isn't just in Isaac's head. There's a structure in the forest. It definitely looks like a intelligent design. There's also a drawing in his father's office that looks very similar. Makes you wonder, is there some kind of a supernatural thing here? Is this just a mental thing? Are other people experiencing the same things that Isaac is experiencing? I enjoyed this movie. I would call it kind of a slow burn for sure, more of a psychological horror, even though there is a physical creature in this movie. I still could only give it like maybe a 6 out of 10. This is not for everybody. People who are into dog trash like Terrifier are not going to like this movie. I enjoy slow burn horrors. I enjoy foreign horror, and I enjoy folk horror. So this all kind of worked quite well for me. I was kind of in the mood for something along this lines as well. That does not mean this is a perfect movie. There are some moments of CG that don't work. For me personally, I do believe there was some kind of an alien entity. That's what the smoke in the forest was. There was some kind of a landing. In this alien was taking advantage of the grief of the family. If we go with that, I don't know what the end game was for this alien, because there's a scene at the end where it cuddles up next to Isaac with the father's face. That's the weird thing. It only has, which again, this plays in the title, Daddy's Head. This creature is all black, very sleek looking, but its face, it just looks like his father. But it can also morph its face into looking like other things. So it snuggles up to him, which makes you think, which gives you these, these weird, like, okay, is this some kind of a weird, like, his dad back from the grave thing? What? It's very confusing, not understanding what the motivation of this creature is. When it's all said and done, Isaac's stepmom ends up finally seeing this thing. She is freaked out. She protects him. She stabs this creature, it runs away. The movie ends very abruptly. That was a frustration for me. She stabs it, it runs away, and then we jump to Isaac being maybe 10 years older. He's back at that house. You can tell they haven't been living there because things are overgrown. He's visiting his father's grave, which is all in disarray. He walks into the forest to where that structure is at. For the first time, he goes in. He finds a photo of himself with his dad, which is a little weird, but at the same time fit with my theory that this alien got a hold of that picture and was studying the picture so that it could create the face. And there's a skeleton there indicating that the creature had died, but it's not human. It's humanoid. The skull portion does not have two eye sockets, a nose, and a mouth. It just kind of has a big, kind of a weird hole, like a skull with a hole. I read other people, and they described it as he walked in and saw a skeleton with the skull split open. That is not how I saw it. The skull was not split open. The skull was intact. To me, what that was showing, kind of like on an elephant, if you look at the skull of an elephant, you don't see its trunk. All you see is a big hole where that trunk, because the muscles controlling the trunk has no bone in it. So for me, I felt like the director was trying to portray kind of like that whole face portion was nothing but controllable muscle. And that creature, its whole thing was about being able to mimic and mock other things for whatever means it needed to achieve. That was my interpretation. So at the end of it, I thought it was some kind of alien creature coming. For what reason? Who knows? That's one thing that frustrates me, that it was not clear. But that does not mean that this movie does not have some kind of a deeper message about grief, which I strongly believe that it does. But there are some weird things that I wanted to point out. This is them at the funeral. What is she? Look, what is she wearing? This is the funeral. What kind of weird ass gown is she wearing? Where it's sheer and you can see her legs all the way up to her crotch. All this opens. It's weird. That just does not seem like a good choice for a funeral. See, look at this. Here it is again. This is a very, very weird dress to be wearing to a funeral. Now, this scene right here, this is where they first encounter the creature. They see it like hunched down, all curled up in a corner, and they're all freaking out. The dog chases it out of the house. There's blood. They don't know if it's the dogs or it's the creatures. Okay. The stepmom goes into the boy's room because it jumped through the window in the boy's room. So this window is completely gone, and she just tapes it up with plastic, and she's like, okay, well, good night. What? Good night? Did you not just experience what? Were you not here a second ago? And you think that you putting plastic over this window, I'm going to feel safe sleeping in this room? Hell no. Not going to happen. She leaves him and just closes the door and expects him to sleep in this room that just has a flimsy piece of plastic now. Like, that's going to keep him safe. So she goes in her room. She's getting ready to go to bed, wearing the same dress. He comes in. Now, granted, I would be freaked out too if I started taking off my clothes and then I turned around and just saw someone standing in there. Okay. But look at her. She's acting like, oh my gosh, you almost saw me in just my underwear, which you could clearly see me in anyway. But now for some reason, this with her taking this sheer clothing off, now it's weird. Oh, it's weird now. It wasn't weird before at the funeral when I was just standing there in my underwear, but now it's weird. That's all I'm saying. Now it's weird. The woman playing the stepmom, I think she played this sense of not being able to deal with her grief and Isaac's grief at the same time, not knowing how to do this. Came across very well. I could relate to that. I could relate to Isaac's struggle and confusion and pain and the longing. Very real. I think they all did a good job. Some might say that Isaac played it up a little bit. For me, it was okay. Being this child and having this anger and frustration of having your whole world torn apart and feeling like you can't trust anyone and then having an outside force tell you that you can't trust them, tell you that they're trying to keep you away from what your heart desires and what you long for, that would really be easy to cause a divide. So I give this one a good score, in my opinion, even though it's only slightly above what you would call an average movie. Again, I watched it on Shudder. I would say give it a go. Give it a go, in my opinion. Ignore the extremely cringy, weird title, Daddy's Head, and forgive this woman for wearing some really shitty clothes at a funeral and acting shocked that her stepson was about to see her in her underwear that she had been walking around in the whole day. Please like, subscribe, and share, and let me know your thoughts on this. What did you think this creature was? Was it all just a manifestation of their grief culminating together? Was it an alien presence? Was the father into some weird voodoo that caused him to come back from the grave? Was it a bit of meat, undigested cheese, that caused them to see these things? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I am Judah. This has been Creepin' It Real. See you later.